Hey guys, how you going? JannLee here. This is another episode of Game of the Week. Apologise to the viewers, I'm a bit behind on this actually. There should have been one last week. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put in analysis for two matches this week. They're both games that I've played. One game is against B0N0B0 and one game is against Chicken Crossroad. So they've both come from the weekly tournaments. One was from weekly tournament 11, the other from weekly tournament 12. So let's get into it. I'm just going to go to my channel to show the viewers the comment that's inspired me to look at the game against B0N0B0. So this is from weekly price tournament 11. And we'll just pause that. And if I scroll down, I had a response from Iron Juggle 28. Said, "Nice tourney. That game with B0N0B0 starting at 1 hour 41 minutes was really wonderful play from both of you. Fun to watch. It might be a good choice for a game to analyse in depth for a great new series. It also was really representative of how crosky described your playing style. Great defensively and then attacking at the right moment." So funnily enough, crosky also sent me a message on Lee Chess and recommended the same game. So yeah, let's get into it. So in this game, I was black. Played at the Crazy House Weekly event number 11, and I suppose the theme of this overall is defend, 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 attack, and it is one way of playing. It's a nice style that you can add to your repertoire. I'd say in this case I was pretty much forced to play in this style. So let's go through the game. So D4, it's quite common for B0N0B0, that's what normally plays. D5, and I play this setup with an early bishop f5, and a little bit different to the traditional method or rule of chess, where you actually develop your knights first and then your bishops, because your bishops are more flexible in the range of squares they can move to. Sometimes it's better to commit them later. Crazy House breaks all the rules, so I'm putting my bishops out first. And this is a fairly standard setup. So, you can put your knight on f6, your knight on e7. I put the knight on e7 just so it covers f5, because quite often white will come in with bishop d3, and so that bishop's already defended. But look, what you should get out of this is something fairly balanced. H4 is an aggressive play from white. So white's basically saying, well, you're not putting anything on my king here, so I'm going to leave the king in the middle. I like where my pieces are. They're all kind of heading towards your king anyway, so why not charge? And I think that's fine. I think H4 is fine here. So I played f6 to try to kick away the knight, and already white's ignoring that. So yeah, here it's actually not so attractive to capture. I mean, black can capture. Maybe it's okay. You could play something like bishop b4, bishop c5. But yeah, I think it's not decisive, but it's just not comfortable. Black already has some large weaknesses on the dark squares. A game might continue something like this. If you play pawn at g7, it's going to get captured, and then white's already generating an attack. It's not decisive. It's not the end of the world. There's still a lot of play to go, but black's just on the back foot in terms of initiative, and you don't have to go down this line. So in the game, I don't think I would have taken a knight. Now instead I played a move which offers this knight under attack to be swapped. And basically it's about controlling some dark squares. So here I'm actually threatening to take the knight now because I have 3 pieces attacking it, whereas white only has 2. And if white makes a capture, I'm okay with that because I still have a black pawn here. And so that looks quite different relative to having a white pawn on e5 with a cavity on f6. So already it's a little bit positional here. So material isn't worth quite the same in Crazy House because you can place pieces on the board. So you know, the mobility of a piece is probably more so about what it directly hits when you place on the board, not necessarily how it moves throughout the game, which is where, you know, it's got a different value in chess. So okay, he did trade, and I've recaptured with the black pawn just so that my knight's still covering the bishop on f5. If I don't, the consequence of that is I'll already be losing a pawn here. And it's not just losing a pawn, there's some significant weaknesses. And I got nothing back for that. So it's actually really important that I recapture with b takes c6 here. So a few more trades. And now black has a nice central pawn mass, but look, white's saying, look, I'm getting some pressure on g6. Unfortunately, I already have some pieces that are pointing in the same direction. But that's where the fire is, right here, g6. So knight at e4 alleviates a bit of pressure from the d3 bishop. He made a trade. And bishop at g6. So this is a move that surprised me. I mean, I've got 3 pieces on here. He's only got 2. But the thing is, this opens up the rook file. And so black does need to be careful. Now, I don't really have a choice here. I've got to try to play to take it. If I don't take the bishop and take the material, you know, white's threatening just to basically capture here, and then e6 becomes a weakness. I'm not making any ground here very quickly. I mean, maybe bishop at g4 is a possibility. You know, maybe that's an option. Maybe you can play f3. And bishop at g3 is not great for him. So yeah, maybe bishop at g4 is a little more attractive. Yeah, that's possibly a different way of playing. It's just a different game then. But I think it actually sets up h takes g6 a little better, because this queen does not have an open line to h5. So yeah, let's see what happened in the game. Maybe that is an improvement. I took with the pawn first, and white's already threatening, you know, pawn at f7 could be quite dangerous. You know, there's already open lines, so maybe queen h5 is coming in. Now, there's knight g6 and bishop g6, and bishop g6 is not ideal because then white captures, and the key piece is that white now has a bishop in hand because you've taken with the bishop first, and that allows bishop at h7. Now that's not pleasant either way. So if you look at the material balance, white sacrificed a piece, but white's getting it back straight away with the initiative. So, you know, you're not mated, but if you back into the corner, I mean, white's making progress on the black king, and material's balanced. So, you know, white's got a rook for a piece really. Black hasn't even got the pieces on the board yet. Maybe it's playable. I mean, it's not the end of the world just yet. If the queen comes off, it might be okay, but you know, white's fine. White's better here already. So yeah, I prefer knight takes g6. Just another line here which can be dangerous is if you don't play king h8, you go king h7. You're now forced to run out here, and you know, black's king's worse, material's even. If you capture here, and you're getting mated. So for that reason, I opted to take with the knight, because the difference here is after this, white doesn't have the bishop in hand. He's got 2 knights in hand, so it's easy to defend because this bishop covers some good squares. So that's the first point I really want to make. Now, after knight takes g6, he went on with pawn at h7, which I don't think is the best move here. I mean, black can play king h8 or king f7. Either move is probably fine. Instinctively, I play king f7 only because I can see there's a lot of room to run with the king as well in case something heads south with the defences. But you know, it's not even necessary to run the king quickly. The move I thought would be interesting here, instead of pawn at h7, is actually queen h5. And this is quite a tricky move. And you look at it, you go, well, what's it actually threatening? Because Queen H7 doesn't do anything. That's King F7. Well, it does do something. I mean, Knight at H6 is coming as well. So Queen H7 is the obvious threat, but it's not mate. Knight takes G6 is also on, because now there's two pieces attacking. But it's not that easy to defend everything. I mean, you can't put a pawn on here, because it's just going to get taken. If you put the pawn on F7 to defend the G6 knight, then you are getting mated. Right? So, you know, you might say, okay, well, what if I just take the knight? And that also loses in two moves, because now you're covering the H7 square, and you might think, well, Queen H8, you can just run, and you're hitting the queen. But there's an important move here where instead white can play pawn at F7, which is critical. It forces black to capture here, and then suddenly Queen H8 is mate. So the obvious moves to defend don't really work. One way of going about it is potentially a move like bishop at E8. And the idea of this is that it defends G6 without actually preventing your king from having F7 as an escape square. But it's still unpleasant. I mean, the king goes here. There's options. I mean, there's knight at H6 might be something. Yeah. So even if you cover here, then white can capture the bishop first and then grab here. And the material, you know, white's actually a pawn up now, and then got checks on the king, and then this rook falls next. It's not straightforward. So yeah, up against Queen H5, things aren't easy. You may even need to go for something like this, where you just block off the H file, give the piece back, and go something like this. But white's not a piece down now, so yeah, I think Queen H5 was more justified in the game rather than Pawn at H7. It just left white with more dynamic opportunities. So after Pawn at H7, I played King F7, and here I'm actually quite comfortable because I'm not getting mated all of a sudden. You know, the places I have to run have support ready and waiting. So here's already where I think black has an advantage. There's just a material advantage. Black, of course, has no initiative. There's still pieces to get on the board. But it's what I call here a residual advantage, where once the dust settles, black will be better off. So from here on, it's actually just about defend for a while, and picking your time when you should attack. But I already feel that black has an advantage here, and here it's, for me, about the technique in winning the position from here. So the game continued, knight G6. Pressure's still on G6. I've continued to defend it. We had a few trades there. And at this point, you know, I'm wary if I keep allowing the pieces to cycle here, I might end up with a draw with this bishop falling on G6 multiple times. So I put this bishop on as a check to break things up. We've gone back to this. But then he changed tack. He put a bishop on H5, so rather than just capturing here. And yeah, what it's doing is, you know, I can't just keep putting a bishop on F5 now. Maybe I could play knight at E7. But I think I'm just circling around. It's possibly all the same moves. And you know, I'm actually keen to get out of this potential 3-move repetition draw opportunity. So I've taken this bishop, and that is kind of helping white, because it's helping white develop this piece, and then I've just blocked it with the pawn. So yeah, here if white chooses to do something like knight G6 and take, I mean, this does look a little bit dangerous. Bishop at H5. Now King H6 would be a mistake, because you'd be getting mated, because you're allowing the rook to come to H5 and block off the king coming backwards. What you should do, and it's a important point is take on h7, because up against this you can at least block on h6. So by vacating that square you save yourself, and then the checks don't matter now. They don't go anywhere. White would need another knight to place on h5 in order to make black, so it all fizzles out and then black's got all the pieces. So this knight g6, queen h5 sack looks close to working, but it doesn't quite work. He went for f5, and already white here's probably thinking, oh look, I've got to keep attacking, because if I don't stop attacking, then I'm not going to have play on the board. I've decided to take with the G pawn. You could take with either, perhaps. There's bishop at e6. I actually think it's just a whole lot of checks that are coming. Maybe something like bishop at g8. White might be able to make a queen here, but look, black's not in immediate danger, and white does need to start worrying about his king as well. There's moves like bishop at c4, threatening queen at e2. So these catches don't matter. So black does need to start threatening something on the king, or else white's just going to clean up material on the back. But already here, I mean, this queen sack does not seem too dangerous. I've taken this way. Maybe it's better, maybe it's not. But what it does allow is white to catch a rook with knight g6. And it kind of surprised me that white got some more play out of this, because I didn't foresee it. I just figured that white would never be able to push the pawn to h8. And he found a nice way of getting that in. So he grabbed the rook, and he played bishop at e8, and what that does is, I'd prefer to take it, because if I don't, then he actually may have something to play for. If you play king c8, bishop takes c6 isn't pleasant. King e7 you wouldn't want to play, that gets mated straight away. King d8, also bishop c6, so I think king c7 is the preference. Yeah, rook at d7 just chases the king up. And I don't think white's got enough to mate here. So maybe this is playable. At a certain stage, maybe white determines it's time to castle. If things run out, you might need to get the knight active. It doesn't really go anywhere in particular. But the move I opted for was rook takes c8. I'm not sure. Maybe it's actually better to run the king to b6. But I figured I just wanted to keep nothing near my king. But after check, when I blocked here, the thing I didn't notice was I just left this file open. And so I think that's actually an inaccuracy from black, because it gives white something to play for again, and white's safety hasn't really suffered enough. Just an important note here, definitely not king c8, because you get mated. So it's tempting to kind of think, oh, white has nothing in hand, let's go attack all the pieces and take them. So you've just got to be careful. But okay, here's a critical position, I think. And white's just saying, well, I've got a queen now. It's in Crazy House, it's what we call a counterfeit queen, because if you take it, you don't actually get a queen back, you only get a pawn back, because it was a promoted piece. And I think that's just a rule to preserve the original balance of pieces in the game. I have seen a website where the rules are different and it does remain a queen, but in general, across most sites, that's a counterfeit queen. So by no circumstances do I want to trade that off voluntarily. And so here's a point where I can keep defending. I can actually just keep playing bishop at f8, which is probably fine. But yeah, here I kind of looked at the things. I'm going, I've got a couple of bishops, I've got a whole lot of knights, and there's probably some way of breaking open on the king side. And here's where I kind of said, oh, I think now it's time to attack. Now, before opening any kind of attack here, I mean, one of the first moves you should consider is bishop takes c3, which is what I played. And it's just because this is currently a pinned knight, but the moment that king moves somewhere else, that knight's going to cover some good defensive squares. It's also a piece in hand, so you want to capture that, get everything in hand. Now, once I do that, I want to try to commit to an attack. So the obvious move is bishop at d2. You might look at some moves like knight at d3, takes, knight at c2. There could be knight at f3, knight at g2. There's a number of ways you can start getting some checks going. But then you kind of have a lot of possibilities on where the king can move. So, look, one example of a successful play might be knight at d3. If you take knight at c2, king d2, and then knight at c4, and that allows your queen to come in. Yeah, it looks dangerous. Where's the finish? I think the finish is probably bishop at d2. Can't move here because of bishop at e2. If the king goes across, knight a3 is double check, forcing the king up, and then you've got mate. Otherwise, king b2 immediately just changes the move order. So yeah, knight at d3 is a possibility, but then you've got to think, okay, if he doesn't take this, what other options does he have? I think none of them are really attractive for white. Because if the king comes here, you'll have bishop at f3 or knight at f4. If the king comes here, knight at g3. So the capture looks right. Maybe white can move in a different order. So he would finish as well, because of this move. Yeah, but white could be mated. Yeah, you can sack here. That'll mate. King move. See, it's easy to let the king run because the king can run here. You'd have to be quite sharp and play knight g3, which forces that. So look, there's a number of ways to get in here. I think, in fact, maybe knight at d3 is another alternative. I'm not sure how much time I had on the clock, but there's a lot to work through here. That's another way of getting in. The move I actually played was bishop at d2, and I felt that if the king takes on d2, knight at c4 is going to be too strong. Basically, because the king can't run back here. You've got knight at a3. The king would have to run this way, and then you can play this move, knight takes e3. And if the king keeps running, it's going to run into that same problem of queen takes h8. So this is the key bit. If I can get that king on h2, I'm blocking that rook. That's the whole idea. And you'll have mate here. If you take the knight on e3, then knight at g3, you end up with the same thing. So black has a lot of material here. It's time to attack. Now, he defended accurately because it's not appropriate to take d2. The best move is, I think, king f1 may be best. The other option is actually king d1, which I haven't really looked at as much. The thing about this, though, is, maybe there's bishop at g4 check, and you can take everything with diagonals. But it's not easy, the key squares are covered by the rooks. So knight at b2, even here, I might just have to say, well, okay, I'm just going to grab the queen, because this rook is overburdened with defending the queen on h8, queen at e1. So that might be the continuation there. Now when he plays king f1, I don't have that option, because it's actually this rook covering e1. So I've got to get in with something like a check on a light square, and he was like, oh, not sure if I actually have enough here. Ideally, I'd want a pawn to put at e2, and then I could put the bishop on d3. Knight at g3 doesn't actually lead anywhere because you're not getting enough. I mean, you can try queen f2 sack, but knight g4, king e2 is not really leading to anything. So here I opted to check from distance, and the idea here is if king g1, the e2 square is still available for the knight. So yeah, the king can't come to h2 for the reasons I've noted before, but with king f1 you've also got a neat checkmate here. You can sacrifice the queen and have a double check to finish the king. So white doesn't want to move the king after a check from distance, and white doesn't really want to block with something on e2 either, because then the king will be forced to move upwards. So if white went here, I then have bishop at d3, and the key there is when I recapture, this pawn is now checking the king, which is different to when the king's on f1. If the king's on f1, I don't have check, and then suddenly he has check, and he has my queen, and then I'm actually losing. So it's important to get these things right. You have to do it with check. He played a move which looks unusual, bishop at b5, but the point here is it's covered by the rook. So if I take this way, then he's getting my queen and he's getting the initiative back. And it's more than likely going to end up mated somehow. So yeah, I mean, I thought bishop at a6, where at worst I can patch up with knight at f8 and I'll have this rook to capture. But bishop at b5 forces me to think again. And so here I opted to capture the bishop. And that's a minor help for me in that there's one less piece attacking my king, and now I've actually got a rook that's on offer. But really, maybe here's where I should have gone in the first place to avoid that block. And he's blocked with the bishop. Now, that's critical here. Maybe he could block with the rook. Yeah, maybe that actually stops me, and then I might actually have to stop attacking and defend here. But then I've got pieces hanging, which I can pick up at a later time. He played bishop at d3. It's a little more instinctive to do that, but the key difference is now when I take, there's a pawn sitting on d3, and I probably did mention this during the game in live commentary, that's critical for black, because now bishop at e2 can be followed with a capture here. So in this case, if he takes, capture. Now if he takes the bishop, that's going to be mated in two. If he backs off, I'm going to play pawn at e2 and queen f1. I'm happy if he runs out to h2 because I'll pick up this guy and then I'll have checks to follow to mate. So if he takes this way though, then we've got rook at e1 mate. So what are the other options? You can't really run out because queen at g4. Maybe he can capture this, but I've got a feeling it's a bit difficult to survive this one as well. Yeah, most direct might be queen at d3. You can't come here, that's mated. You've got to run this way, check, check, it's all forced. That'll be mate as well. So, against bishop at e2, white's best defensive tray is king g1. So I spent all this effort getting this pawn on d3, and now my problem is I don't have a square on e2 vacant to hit the king with. And you might even hear go, well, black needs to just hold back and play knight at f8. But a resource I saw was actually a nice two-piece sack. So here, just think the critical bit here is getting this square on e2 vacant. Because I just want to push this king to h2. So it got me thinking on the following line, and this is how the game progressed. I need to try to play checks, but make the e2 square available. And I'll continue with knight at f3, which forces g takes f3, and then there's a queen sack. Now here, if black plays e takes f3, I think black's actually lost. because now black's just given up the queen he had in hand, didn't get anything for it. White's safe, this is still covered. It's not a real queen, remember, so I'll show you if I take it. It's only a pawn that comes in hand. So the key move here is actually bishop takes f3, and that's because it makes the e2 square vacant. Now not only that, but the bishop also captures a pawn, which is critical, because in moving away from e2, f1 becomes available, but I need this extra pawn in hand to play pawn at g2. So here, the white king's running out of options. So now, the white king still has a lot of squares. Well, look, anything on the h file is no good because I'm going to take the queen. And what happened in the game was actually king g1, and here's where knight at e2 stings. And that's the key. The e2 square's available. Can't play king h2. Same old mate. He went to f1, but that's where pawn at g2 is that last final resource to deliver checkmate. So that's how the game finished. The only other option that was really there, I mean, you know, the move order doesn't matter. If you go f1 first, pawn at g2, king g1, knight at e2, he can move the king up, but knight at e2 forces the king out onto the h file anyway. He's only got these three. So again, you get the same sort of finish. So yeah, so I thought that was an interesting game, just because it had a few things. You've got a couple of defensive players. You know, it was really kind of being forced into defense a little bit, but defend. Choose the right time to attack. I think there's more than one way to attack, but yeah, it is a nice finish at the end. Just this idea, knight at f3 with a queen sack, with the key being getting this square vacant for the knight to deliver check. That's probably the nice bit of finesse at the end of this match. Okay, so I'm gonna pause this video there. I'm actually gonna stop it, but I will start moving on to the next game I want to analyse, which is the game I played against Chicken Crossroad in the tournament the week after. So that's it for Game of the Week number 2. Hope that was a bit of instructive analysis for you, without time pressure of having to play a match. So yeah, I'll get on to the next video. Thanks for watching.